Good evening, Goodman Games fans, and welcome to another episode of Raw, Rules as Written. I am one of your co-hosts, Matt Robertson.
And I'm Stephan Surratt.
And we are joined this evening by Marzio Muscedere. Did I say it right?
Muscedere, but very close, yes.
How do you say it?
Muscedere, actually. Muscedere.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Marzio Muscedere.
Yeah. I am so happy to be on. Hey, I'm nervous, man. I didn't know what to wear. I thought maybe I should have worn like a collared shirt. This is like
I thought you were going to wear a tux.
This is like detention, man. I don't know. You're going to ask me questions. I got to answer them. I'm usually the guy in the back chatting up the ladies and wisecracking.
Marzio Muscedere to the office, please.
That's it. Start cleaning. I got to clean, what do you call it? The brushes at recess.
Muscedere. I'm going to have to remember that. That's going to be a tough
Mr.
one.
Muscedere.
I'm horrible with names. But anyway, Mars, we like to start out the episode with you answering the questions from last week, just to get your opinion on them, just to kind of see what you think.
Yeah, the warm up. So the first one that we had 4 from last week, so we'll go through them. Everyone out there, because they're all every episode listeners, religious. They're here every time. They know what me and Matt think, but for you, tell us, are casters allowed to change out the spells they have prepared with the other spells they know? So, you've got your spells per day. Do you get to know more spells than for wizards? Do you get to go above that number that's in the class level up thing and swap them out sometimes?
Okay. At first, when you told me this question, I didn't understand anything of what you meant. But I think what you're saying is, and that's on me. So you're saying, like, say, for example, first level wizard starts with, I think, is it 5 spells, 4, 5, whatever it is,
depending on their intelligence. But yeah, 4 or 5.
Let's say they start with 5 spells. You're asking me, can they get more than those 5 at level 1? Is that the question?
Yeah. At level 1, if they find a scroll, kill some other schlub and take his spell book. Do they get to memorize those and swap them out when they wake up each day?
Yeah, the way, yes. My first answer is yes, because I know when I write a bunch of adventures, I allow people to, in my adventures, they can gain spells through even something like touching an object. So they might touch an object that's infused with this arcanic or magical energy, and then they automatically have a spell, infused in their brain or written on their body. I had one adventure where the spell gets written on their flesh, and then, and that also leads to like other people chasing them down for that spell, right? But so yes, you can have 5 spells. Let's say your character has 5 spells, but they can learn other spells, and then they have 7 spells as first level. I don't think there's a problem. So I say yes. Why not?
So they can they use all 7 of those at the same time? Like, let's say at first level, or would they have to trade them out?
Okay, so are you asking me rules as written or the way I run it? Because rules as written, who knows?
Whatever you think's the more interesting answer.
Well, then my answer is like, yeah, why not? Like spells known and spells. I know it's listed as spells known, right? But is that spells able to cast that day? I really don't know that answer. So if your spells, I figure if you have 5 spells, because DCC has the rolling on the spell charts, you don't lose those spells until you roll to lose. So truthfully, you have unlimited casting ability. So in my mind, if you have 5 spells there, you can cast all those 5 until you lose them. And if you have 6 or 7, you can cast all 7 till you lose them. That's the way I would rule it. Yeah.
Don't any hate mail. More forgiving judge for most, but I like it.
Any hate mail, send it to Raw as written, not to my house. If I don't follow the rules.
Don't worry, we've already posted your address in the chat. We're gonna get it right to you.
I can hear the torches and pitchforks outside right now.
Yep. And so our next one was do bonus spells that are given by a patron. Do they count against like that max number of spells that an elf is able to cast? Or say a wizard as well?
I would say no. I say a patron is its own special thing. That's why it's considered bonus spells. So that's exactly what they are in my mind, bonus spells. So whatever a caster and their patron, whatever the patron gives them, I think that would be over and above their known spell limit. Same thing as if you were to get an item, some kind of magical item that bestowed a spell for you, and I think then that would take you above the limit. So no, they do not count.
Gotcha. And so next
mob
outside
Marzio's house just got bigger.
Yeah, I could hear they're firing up the torches right now. They're going to storm the gate.
Yeah, they're swapping out the torches for Roman candles and
fireworks.
What about elves? Are they able to use their enhanced senses at level 0 for check secret doors?
Yes, I would say yes. You know what? For me, and just to speak about rules and the way I kind of deal with rules, first thing I do is kind of look at things that just make sense, would make sense in the real world before I actually dive deep into the rule book. So, makes sense. You're an elf to start. You're an elf as a level 0. You have racial abilities or racial traits, whatever you want to call them, that are specific to being an elf. So that doesn't change. So, of course, dwarves can smell gold. Elves can sense has the secret doors enhanced sensibility. I think all that makes sense. So I say yes, they would have that even at a 0 level.
Gotcha.
The
And
mob,
last,
mob just got a little smaller.
oh,
Okay.
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 How debilitating is the elves' vulnerability to iron, and how often does it generally come into play in your games? And do you think it should be expanded upon?
Um, I look at yes, expanded upon. I think in terms of like role playing more so than mechanics. So an elf's vulnerability to iron in my game would play more in terms of how does it affect the character in terms of the story. So for example, rather than I know they lose 1 hit point a day or something like that. Why not make it where they touch metal, it hurts almost like it would be hot. So then you can have a cool role playing thing where let's say there's a barkeep that doesn't like elves, so he gives the elf a free drink in an iron mug, and he's like, "Hey, what? Not thirsty? You know what I mean? Just to be a goof." And or a main bad guy who's twirling his mustache has an elf imprisoned and says you can fight your way out and throws him an iron dagger. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff, I think you can use it more in a role play in your game rather than just a simple mechanic of it does 1 hit point of damage. That's kind of boring. So I like to work it in as something to do with the story. Maybe I'm sure that elf would want to say something to that barkeep who has this beef with him. I don't know. That's the way I look at it. So yeah, I would expand it a bit in terms of role playing aspect.
Those are awesome ideas too. Yeah. All right, the
Gotcha.
mob just got smaller, but now we're going to hit the tough questions.
But before we get to the tough question, I think we kind of failed to introduce Mario, actually. We kind of did. We didn't mention Mario's written several official DCC modules, and he's written Death Slaves of Eternity. He's got that poster behind him, and he's got a Kickstarter happening right now for like a whole kit and caboodle adventure and setting thing that sound like he'd been working on for a long old time.
It's horrible at introducing people too. Mario, Marzio, what kind of qualifications do you have for being on the show?
I'm kind of a big deal, first off. And second, no, I've written a bunch of stuff for Goodman Games. Obviously, that's actually a towel. My sister made me a Death Slaves of Eternity towel, just so when I go to the beach, people know, just don't mess with me. But anyway, I've written a bunch of stuff for Goodman Games. Death Slaves of Eternity, my newest one, Veiled Vaults of the Onyx Queen. Doom That Came to Christmas Town, Star Wound of Abaddon, and I currently have a Kickstarter going right now, kind of my own thing, which is The Shadows About Hope, and it is over 100 pages of glorious sword and sorcery action, and it's on Kickstarter right now. Check it out, please.
Yeah, I looked at it and I was like, why is this so expensive? Because I'm used to like it just being like one module, and then I actually read your campaign page and I was like, oh, over 100 pages. Oh, okay, yeah, that costs a little bit more to print than the average 24-page thing.
I mean, it's 100. To be honest, it's 136 pages is the manuscript. I don't know what that's going to turn out to once it's in layout. That's big bald Matt Hildebrand's doing that for me. Which, thank you, Matt. You saved my life.
It'll grow a little bit. I know that much.
And it's $16. So I don't know how expensive that is for a 136 page book.
That's pretty
it's $16.
I think maybe it was a exchange rate thingy.
Yeah, it scares people because because I live in Canada. It has to be in Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
So 16 US dollars is like 3,500 Canadian dollars. So don't be scared. It's $16.
It confused me at first, but then I was like, oh, this is super reasonable.
Yeah, we're playing with that monopoly money over here compared to you guys.
I got the email for it, and I saw Marzio had written it, and I was scared he might see me at the beach and beat me up with the towel. So I backed it right away.
Man, I'm good for a good dust up. You know me. I like to throw down sometimes. So I got that towel at the beach.
All right. Well, now we're gonna hit you with our hard questions, and we've done an episode pretty much about every other class specifically. Last episode we touched on the elves. The last class we have is the halfling. And there's not too much questions about the halfling. Most of them are pretty right in the rule book. You can discern what you want. But I was thinking, well, what if nobody's played DCC before and they happen to stumble upon our video? They see this ability called luck and they're like, what the hell is that? So our first question, if you could bring that up on the prompter, Elena, is what if there are more than one halfling in a party? Which one is the lucky halfling and how do you decide?
And you're asking me?
Yeah, we always ask you.
Oh, always ask me first. All right. Oh, okay. So the rule book states that there is only one lucky elf per party, and it also states that the rules on how the luck how halflings share their luck. With the party member being visible to them and all that. So to answer your question, how do you determine who's the lucky elf in the party? I think the easy answer is the players determine that, and I'm sure they're going to determine it by saying it's the elf with it's the halfling with the highest luck, right? And if it's not not the halfling with the highest luck, if they come up with some other reason, then that's cool too. And if they can't decide, then I guess they'll have to duel at dawn to figure out. I have no idea, right? Maybe the old die roll will decide it, but I'm pretty sure. And plus, who has two halflings in a party anyway? What do you got a ring to deliver? That doesn't happen. But if it did, I'm sure the players would figure it out pretty quick.
That's true. You could just roll a d20. What do you think about it, Stephan?
Tell them, go outside. The first one of you to bring me a 4-leaf clover, you're the one. Come back when you're done. I'm pretty much same opinion. Whoever has the highest luck should probably be it, but y'all decide.
Let's bring up handout 1A so we can look at the rules specifically. So on page 61, under the halfling description, it says, note that the good luck charm ability applies to only one halfling in the party. There's luck to having a halfling with an adventuring party, but there's not more luck to having more than one halfling. If multiple halflings accompany an adventuring party, only one of them counts as a good luck charm, and that cannot change through rearranging or separating the party. Luck is a fickle thing that's governed by the gods and game masters, and players would do well not to attempt to manipulate the spirit of this rule. So, I mean, that last part right there almost throws a little loophole in that if we were playing a party with two halflings and me and Stephan were halflings and Stephan was the lucky halfling, I might try to sneak it past Marzio and see if he doesn't catch me. I'd be like, and then tempt the gods there.
You certainly could try, and it would probably work, because I haven't played with a lot of halflings at my table, to be honest with you.
I did find a little clip in the forum that talked about, there was a little bit about power gaming and metagaming. Well, of course, they're going to pick the halfling with the most luck. And somebody had commented that said, well, you could wait until the first halfling uses luck to try to bump something up. And then that is considered the lucky halfling, the first one to use.
That's a good little suggestion.
That is a good little suggestion. We got one more handout 1B, and this is from JG himself. Joseph Goodman, Marzio. I always like to call him JG when he's not looking. As Gandalf noted in the Ring Saga, there's a luck to having a halfling in the party. The key word is a, not plural. So yeah, he verifies that only one halfling is the lucky halfling. So final answer for me is rules is written. Only one halfling can be lucky, and you decide amongst yourselves how you're going to select them. Stephan, what's your answer?
Same as you. Decide amongst yourselves, but just one at a time. And I'm gonna say that's for the adventuring day though. You can't just be like, ooh, I'm all used up. Your turn. I'm tagging you in. You can maybe decide same adventure, but you guys sleep in the woods that night. Next morning, the luckier one gets because the other guy's all used up. He's down to 3 luck.
Yeah, it does specify you can't change. Marzio, what's your final answer?
My final answer is exactly the same as yours. You can't change, and unlucky elf, halfling in the party, and they decide. And I think it'd be cool if they came up with a different way to decide other than the highest luck score. That'd be pretty fun.
You could have a lucky game in whatever module, starting out playing 3-card Monty or something like that, and whichever halfling gets it right, that's the lucky halfling.
There you go.
Well, or play Rat Snake if it's it wouldn't be Lankmar, but you can play Rat Snake anyway.
Now, our next question, if you could bring up question 2, Elena, is can a halfling's luck score exceed their natural maximum by daily resetting, kind of resting, or adventure rewards, luck that might be handed out after the adventure is complete? What do you think, Marzio?
Okay, so first off, halfling's luck score is restored every night by the number of points equal to his level or their level, which I'm pretty sure is in the rules.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure it also says this process cannot increase the luck score beyond its maximum, its natural maximum. So I think that's the answer right there for that. I like the second part of this question because it's adventure rewards. And for me, try to define, like maybe we need to define adventure rewards. If adventure rewards is what a judge gives out at the end of the adventure, as in, oh, you guys, slayed the dragon and saved the town, everybody gets X amount of XP and 2 luck points, then I would say those luck points cannot exceed your maximum. But if the adventure itself doles out rewards, like I know at the end of Star Wound of Abaddon, if you close the rift, gods might bestow upon you bonus luck. That bonus luck would exceed your permanent score. That make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. We'll bring up our first handout because you mentioned it in the rules. Handout 2A on page 60 says, second, unlike other classes, a halfling recovers lost luck to a limited extent. The halfling's luck score is restored each night by a number of points equal to his level, just like Marzio said. This process cannot take his luck score past its natural maximum. The process works similar to how a thief ability is described above. What do you think, Stephan?
Yeah, I basically agree with what we've already said here. And I think we've also kind of touched on this in our thief episode, and we also did an episode that was largely just about luck. Yeah,
Sure did.
daily resets. No, it's just going to go up to whatever it was before you started using up all that luck. But the adventure rewards, because you laid the bones of a saint to rest, you saved Christmas or whatever. You get some extra luck from doing that because the gods and the spirits, the supernatural entities, give you a little extra juice. Then it can increase your top amount.
Well, let me try to change you guys' mind. Elena, if we could bring up handout 2B, page 361, says the stars align, curses and calamity can bring changes to luck, as can blessings and benedictions. The judge is encouraged to create storylines that can manipulate luck as both player incentive and as a plot mechanic. Certain classic fantasy characters were known to be doomed as part of their role in the greater drama, complex beyond their understanding, while others were repeatedly lucky than they should have been. So I'm kind of thinking of like a halfling. You get to play a halfling, you roll one up randomly in Purple Sorcerer, and you get a luck of like 6. You're not a very lucky halfling, but your class is, described as a lucky halfling. So by the same factor that they would be able to bring that 6 higher through, questing for it or whatnot, rewards, stuff like that. I think in the feeling of the game and that character being personified as a lucky halfling, that ability score should be able to rise past its natural maximum. It is kind of my opinion. And you did research, right, Stephan? Nowhere in the book does it say that you can't raise an ability score higher than 18.
I couldn't find anything. The only evidence I found for it was the opposite. It was in the strength spell, where it says, hey, with this one person they get a strength score of 20. That gives you a +4, and hey, and max result you can permanently increase strength, and you have to beat some DCs, depending on how much you've raised it by magical means. Long story short, that 3 to 18 ability score range, my opinion, that's only ever described as something that's a part of character creation. Azi Dahaka doesn't have an 18 strength. Azi Dahaka probably has a strength of like 200 or some nonsense.
Well,
So the players could get a higher than an 18 too, but only through magical means.
I just sent you this handout, Marzio, in Discord, so you can read it with me. I did find this little clip from JG. It says luck can go above the original starting score and go above 18. Now, this was back in 2012. In theory, for that to happen, the character would presumably be burning luck very rarely, and the score doesn't go up or down. I don't think I've ever had a player hold on to luck like that, but I suppose it could happen. In addition, my intent has always been that the PC encounters both positive and negative modifiers for luck. Part of the luck game mechanic is acting inside of the alignment, but the story mechanic is greater powers favor that character's behavior. For every lawful character who advances their cause, there's an angry demon out there who wants to sow chaos. A single adventure should rarely result in more than a negative or 1 point change in luck. Even that shouldn't happen too often, and that 1 point change could be a positive or negative. I think he might have been referring to the modifier there. But right at the beginning, he says the luck can go above its natural score and its natural maximum. So I'm thinking, well, maybe this was before the beta rules. So I went back and checked the beta rules. It's still the same description where it can't go above your natural maximum. It's that's what it is through all the printings. So there's a little bit of contradiction here.
Oh, I see that post was made in October 9th, 2012. I think the game was published in like August or November or something. So I'm sure everything was probably written. It was probably like at the printers, getting bound up and whatnot. So,
what do you think, Marzio?
I mean, I think that's what we were kind of talking about. Sure, it can go above its natural maximum if it's tied into an adventure or the quest for it. I mean, quest for it, it's huge in DCC. That's the answer for a lot of things, and I think it's a fantastic answer because it just begets more adventure, right? You're not sitting there just train. Remember in the old days, you had to go meet when you raised level, you had to go find a trainer that gave you abilities or whatever. At least that's the way we played when we were, kids or whatever. Now it's like you want to find something, you quest for it. So if a judge is awarding a halfling luck or doing something, or because he's favor of the gods, then I think that's pretty cool. I think that would work.
Yeah, and handout 2D kind of backs that up. On page 306, it refers to questing for the impossible, raising the dead, improving an ability score. So it's right there in the DCC RPG. Gaining weapon skill, receiving a divine boon that acts as acts of dice rolling and nothing more. The DCC RPG argues against this approach and instead makes one simple request of both player and judge. Follow the examples set by mythology and fiction and resolve such acts with a quest. So it tells us not to, just try to do an ability score raise, but have circumstances in the story that would raise that luck for that poor little halfling with a 6.
Because I did my homework, like you asked, Matt, I found something that I didn't see before in the rulebook, which is kind of cool when you're looking at it. And it was, it says luck for all characters. It says luck may be restored over the course of the adventure, and this restoration process is loosely linked to the character's alignment. Did you ever remember? I had no idea. It says characters that act against their alignment might find themselves suddenly unlucky. But I found it weird that they said, no, it's not weird, but like, I didn't know this was in there. The restoration process of regaining luck for your is loosely tied to your character's alignment. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I think that's what JG's intent was. We mentioned that on the luck episode, but every time I do research on these questions, I find new stuff that I didn't realize was in there, or all kinds of different things. So rules is written, Stephan. What's your answer on can a halfling's luck score exceed their natural maximum with daily resting or adventure rewards?
Okay, so natural maximum being what the character was rolled as initially. Daily resting, no, they cannot. Adventure rewards, yes, they can.
I think I'm going to have to agree with exactly what you said. Rules is written. It kind of says in the description that luck cannot go above the natural maximum in the halfling and the thief description, especially through daily resets, because that's directly the part that it talks about. But as far as adventure rewards, getting luck bonus at the end of an adventure, doing something within your alignment, or creating an atmosphere where your halfling with the 6 luck is gradually building and becoming a lucky halfling, I think absolutely. Marzio, you get the final answer.
Yeah, I totally agree. Daily, daily renewals are no, but absolutely for adventure rewards. Yeah, so adventure rewards, quest items, stuff like that can raise it up. I think that's good.
Yeah, we have Bob Brinkman come on every 4 episodes, and he fries us on all the answers that we've given that are poor. So,
so Bob can come and straighten me out after, I guess.
but Bob will come and straighten us all out.
That's good. Bob's good for that.
Question Stephan, you want to hit up question 3?
Sure. Yeah. Question number 3: when burning luck to increase another player's dice roll, does that player receive 2 points for every 1 point spent?
And this is another kind of easy question that usually everybody knows about the halfling, but new players might not. So, Marzio, what do you think about that one?
I think absolutely they can. They get 2 points for every point spent. I know the rule book specifies how the halfling gives away its or shares luck, and all it says is it shares their luck. So when you look up how a halfling uses his luck, uses it by expending 2 points for every one. So I would say the same thing holds when he's sharing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Elena, if we could bring up handout 3B, I think where people, handout 3A, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, Elena. Page 60, first, a halfling doubles the bonus of burning luck. So this is the mechanic we're talking about, everybody. For every 1 point of luck that the halfling spends, a halfling gains a +2 to that roll. So for every 1 point, they gain 2. And now if you can bring up handout 3B, on both page 60 and 61, it says third, a halfling's luck can rub off on those around them. The halfling can expend luck to aid their allies. The ally in question must be nearby and visible to the halfling. The halfling can act out of initiative order to burn luck and apply it to any ally's roll. The halfling loses the luck, and the ally receives the benefit. So the ally doesn't have to spend their luck. The halfling's burning theirs. This is what I think confuses some people. The halfling's luck modifier can apply to any roll made by an ally. So I sometimes see the question, well, does that mean the luck modifier from their starting score? No, that means the 2 for 1 modifier. Do you agree with that, Stephan?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add, but I have occasionally seen people get tripped up for the reason you said exactly.
Yeah. So go ahead, Marzio.
No, I'm saying now that you say it, when you speak it out like that, I can see where someone would get tripped up because you're using that word modifier, and the minute I hear modifier, I go right back to stats, right? Your stat modifiers, whereas we're talking about an actual mechanic here, so of the 2 for 1 burn. But yeah, I can see where they get mixed up on it maybe at the beginning, but it's definitely in my mind 2 points for everyone. That's what they were talking about.
Yeah, I think it is for everybody. We have one more handout just to verify it and lock it in cement. Handout 3C, another quote by JG says, the intent of the rules was that any luck burned by a halfling grants 2 for 1 benefit. So 1 point of luck burned grants +2 to a roll by either the halfling or any ally. And as always, everybody, we are using the 8th printing of the DCC RPG. So if you want to check facts, that's where you will find it. Question 4. This is where we get into the tough questions. So question 4 is a natural 16 an automatic hit for a dual wielding halfling regardless of the enemy's AC, Marzio? What do you think?
I didn't think this was very hard of a question, and maybe Bob was gonna come on here and straighten me out right now, but I'm pretty sure the rule book says that a halfling scores a crit. Or first of all, the rule book says unlike other characters, the halfling scores a crit on and in the ands italicized and an automatic hit on a roll of 16. So I think that answers the question. The answer would be on a 16, regardless, the creature can have an armor class of 25. But if your halfling rolls a 16, it is a crit and an auto hit.
It is an auto hit, regardless of AC. Now, I do want to say that I was in one of your games this Road Crew day, and you get given someone a reduced die, a D16, that wasn't a halfling. And they rolled a 16. He's like, that's a crit. And I was like, what? I was like, no, that's not a crit.
In my game?
It depends how good your agility is and if you're two-weapon fading.
I'm going to plead the 5th on that question. I don't have to answer that, Matt. Yeah, I probably did. Hey, man, did it work? Was it fun?
It was fun. We had a blast. Right. So a D20 roll by any normal character is a critical hit and an automatic hit. It does not matter who is striking. And I often forget this rule. Stephan, what do you think?
Yes, they do. Now that you're gonna have. I'll say. I promise not to use my actually voice for at very least a very long time. No one likes to hear that, but yeah, it's except in some cases, like in the stat block of the creature, it says immune to critical attacks. I'd still say it's an auto hit, but not going to crit. Or they're immune to mundane weapons. That better be a +1, short sword, little halfling, because otherwise your 16's gonna mean nothing at all. But
Yeah.
generally,
Well,
yeah.
and we're not talking out our butts here, folks. We've got facts to back it up. So, Elena, if you could bring up handout 4A, on page 60 it says, unlike other characters, when fighting with 2 weapons, a halfling scores a crit and automatic hit on any roll of a natural 16, just like Marzio said. Handout 4B describes it for all the other characters. On page 12, a roll of 20 is an automatic hit and often results in a critical success of some kind. So that's definitely without the modifier. So if your halfling rolls a 15 and +1 brings them to a 16, that is not an automatic hit. If they had an AC of 18 or whatever, that would still be a miss. They got to get that natural 16. Is that how you understand it, Marzio?
Yeah, absolutely. The natural 16. That's what you'll need. I also found it. It reminded me that halflings only fumble on 2 ones.
Yep.
Right? They don't fumble on a single one. I always forget that as well. The player reminds me. Don't get me wrong, but I always forget it. That yeah, that's right. Because they're so lucky, they only fumble if you roll 2 ones. So. Yeah, exactly like you said. It's got to be a nat 16, just like it's got to be a nat 1. It can't be a 1 that's reduced because you had some kind of negative modifier or a fumble.
Got to be natural. We've got handout 4C. On page 81, it says, on a d20 roll, a natural roll of 20 is a critical hit. A natural 20 automatically hits, and the attacker must roll his crit die on the appropriate critical hit table with the result adjusted by his luck modifier. So a natural 20 automatically hits for everyone. A natural 16 automatically hits for halflings. It doesn't matter if their AC is 200. They're going to get hit if it's a natural roll. Handout 4D, Elena, if you could bring that up. On page 81, it gives us an example of this mechanic. Note that while high-level warriors threaten critical hits on rolls of other than 20, only a natural 20 is an automatic hit. Strikes that fail to hit do not incur critical hits. For example, a warrior with a threat range of 19 or 20 rolls a natural 19 against a foe with an AC of 21. The warrior's D die is a 1, so the total attack is a result of 20, less than the AC, so this attack doesn't hit, and it's not a crit because it didn't hit naturally. It only rolled a 19. Even though it's within their crit range, it didn't beat the AC. If this does not score a critical hit, even though it does not score a critical hit, even though it was within the threat range. If the D die is a 2 or higher, the total attack is at least 21. So the attack hits, and due to the 19, it counts as a critical hit. But it would not be a natural 20. So that's just kind of specifying the rule there. Stephan, you got anything to add on that one?
Not really. We all kind of came to the same conclusion there pretty quick, and the evidence is book does a pretty good job at spelling it out.
I always forget that. I always think that the total result has to beat the AC, but the AC really doesn't matter. It could be 2,000, and if it's a natural 20 or a natural 16, it hits. Well, lastly, we've got a handout 4E, which is another forum post by Joseph Goodman, where he is talking about exactly this question. The comment above is correct. Halflings crit on a natural 16. That counts as their natural 20, so they hit and crit on a natural 16, even if that is mathematically a miss against the target's AC. So, Marzio, how do you feel about the halfling? Theoretically, they have a lower attack dice, so they may not hit it often, but their chances of critting and doing more damage because there was a lot of people on the forum complaining about halflings. Oh, they're weak. Do you think it's a weak ability to be able to crit on a D16 and roll 2 attacks?
I mean, I haven't done the math. I'm not a math guy, but at first glance, no. And crits are awesome. So, like, even asking this question, should they auto hit on a 16 crit? Yeah, because who doesn't want more crits in their game? They're so much fun. But I think it might balance itself out, right? You got a better chance. You're rolling a 16 out of 16 instead of a 20, so you're gonna have a better chance to crit. You're rolling twice around. Plus, when you start factoring in the fact that they can spend 2 points of luck for every one, and I don't think the class is that weak.
I remember from I think there's a Spellburn episode of the Spellburn podcast. Great for the few folks who don't know about it. Hasn't been active recently, so I bet new people are hearing about it less and less. But it's probably in the episode they did titled Halflings, pretty early episode. They did the math on like how often you crit versus a warrior of the same level, and I think it eventually warriors win out, in those upper levels that you may not, be getting to play anyway. But at the low levels, halflings crit the most, and it's not a competition.
Yeah.
You got any halflings in any of your material that you wrote, Marzio? Any halfling bad guys?
No, I don't. But what I did is for Death Slaves Eternity and the new one, The Shadows of Boat Hope, I reskin characters for Sword and Sorcery style. So I reskin the race classes. So the halfling became a pirate. Oh my God, what else did they become? They became so they become a like for example, Pirates of the Caribbean, right? These swaggering pirates with their luck, and so I changed
one hand and pistol in another.
Right,
That's how
I
you
changed
pull
the
the two
halfling
weapon.
into halflings became pirates, tomb robbers, like Indiana Jones. People that rely on luck can give luck, and so I that's what I did. But specifically a halfling, I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to make a halfling bad guy.
Laura Croft, how she's always grabbing that rope just as the plane was about to crash into the mountain.
I'm zoning out, but there's a couple other skins of the halfling in sword and sorcery type, pure human type settings that I created. But and I didn't want to mess around with the class because all these classes are so cool, right? The elf, the dwarf, the halfling. How do you change them? And yeah, the halfling became, I think, tomb robber and pirate and stuff like that.
Nice. Well, final answer, Stephan, is a natural 16 automatic hit for a dual wielding halfling, regardless of the enemy's AC.
Yes, Matt. Stop asking me. I told you yes. I told you 3 times.
We got to get the final official answer. My answer is also yes. Marzio, what's your final answer?
My answer is yes. Crits are awesome. More crits in your game. More fumbles in your game too. How about that?
Speaking of fumbles, you have some monster-specific fumble tables, don't you?
Yeah, they're in the oh my God, the yearbook. I think it's called the yearbook that the year that shall not be named. Yeah, some monster
2020 yearbook, I believe.
That's the one. I created some monster specific fumble tables because I thought they were cool.
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
They have,
That's awesome that you did that because looking at the same fumble table over and over does get a little old. So that's great.
And crit tables are so great with the monster. Every monster kind of type has its own crit table, and it was just for me it was a simple kind of reaction. Why not have a fumble table for every single creature the same way? And hopefully people play it and they like it.
So this is our hardest question of the night, and I haven't seen anyone ask this one. This is one I came up with myself. Does a halfling that is wielding 2 weapons, dual wielding, roll a D16 for initiative? Marzio, what do you think?
Okay, so this kind of goes into my whole theory on rules, right? So before I went all Aaron Brockovich and started staying late at night to research the law books, right? I just thought in my mind, right, Matt, if I give you a sledgehammer, tell you to hit me with it, and I'm holding 2, I don't know, knives, I'm going to be faster than you, right? It's
right?
Guaranteed. That's just physics. So my answer is no. If halflings are usually wielding, unless they're wielding 2 sledgehammers, they're usually wielding like short swords or hand axes or daggers. You're going to be so fast with that. You're going to roll a d20 just like everybody else. D16s are for those cumbersome, the maul, the Conan battle axe, the great sword. That's my opinion anyway.
You've watched Lord of the Rings, though. Legolas is shooting a bow, and a bow is a D16 as well.
Yeah, well, Lord of the Rings.
He's got some good modifiers.
Yeah, he's kind of special and magical.
Stephan, what do you think about this question?
I hadn't ever thought about it before I saw it in the email you sent me. I'd always been saying D20. Hadn't given it a second thought.
I had always been saying D20 as well until I was like looking through the halfling and I was like, well, these questions are all easy. We're going to address them pretty early. I need a tough question. So, Elena, if you could bring up handout 5A, first we'll talk about initiative. On page 77, it says initiative check is conducted by rolling 1d20 and adding the appropriate modifier, agility modifier for warriors class level. I'm fumbling over my words today. If you bring up handout 5B, please, Elena, on page 77, it also says a D16 is used on a D20 for characters wielding two-handed weapons. All right? If we bring up handout 5C, that is page 71 in the book, and that is our list of weapons that are two-handed. So just like Marzio said, we've got the battle axe, big and heavy. Crossbow, you need two hands to shoot a crossbow. Longbow, polearm, short bow, and two-handed sword. All, mechanically take two hands or are fairly bulky and heavy. And then I got to the two weapon attacks for the halfling, or for any class actually. But I went and researched it. Elena, if we could bring up handout 5D on page 94, Marzio, it's listing two weapon attacks. And I highlighted it. Under critical hits, it says cannot score a critical hit fighting two-handed. So it refers to two weapon fighting as two-handed. And we know from the previous rule that two-handed means a D16 for initiative. What do you guys have to say about that?
I don't know. I feel like you've got evidence, but it's not. I'm not finding it that compelling.
Stunned silence.
I think I will still go with the D20 for halflings, partially because of what Marzio said. They got the quick weapons. They got these slicing things instead of some big hulking thing, and also so it kind of just makes sense. And also, people kind of wonder about playing halflings. I'm just buffing other people from the sound of it, and I have to use the smaller die, and but I crit more. I don't think I want to take the D20 away from them entirely in the realm of combat.
That's a guilty conscience speaking though, because you don't want to make character class worse. Marzio, have I convinced you? I just sent you that handout in Discord too, so you can visually see it. On that crit table, table 4.3, it says, you can't score crit fighting two-handed. At the bottom, it says warriors and others, this is a rule that I just found out, as I was researching this, another rule that I didn't know. Warriors and others with improved crit threat ranges lose that ability when fighting two-handed. So if a warrior is fighting two-handed, they don't get the improved crit range.
I would almost think that this is a spelling, like because there's two weapon fighting. I think is what they should be saying there, rather than two-handed. That makes sense
possible. To you? It does make sense.
That's the first thing that. First of all, is this not the rule that everyone forgets? This D16 initiative. I mean, this has got to be the most forgotten rule ever. I like the rule. It's just I think it's the most forgotten rule. But just looking now that I'm officially looking at this official dog, look at it, it's got official stamped on it. You guys don't screw around. I'd almost feel like they meant to say two weapon because the whole chart is about two weapon, and then all of a sudden they fire in two-handed. And it doesn't make sense to me, but. I mean, if you want to go, rules.
Well,
you're bringing the court of law. Yeah.
But it is referred to again in a completely different section. Elena, if we could bring up handout 5E, page 95 says two weapon fighting. A character fighting two-handed cannot use a shield, obviously. So it's referenced in a completely separate area of the book. And I just sent you that handout as well.
Yeah, I see that.
So now it's established a precedence.
I really think it should say two weapon. It shouldn't say two-handed there. I think you've just made Jen angry by finding another long-lasting typo.
Well, we have Jen Brinkman coming on later, and she's going to be on November 22nd, so we might have to bring this back up.
All
But
right.
it's stated twice in the rule book that two-handed goes along with two-weapon fighting. If we go back to handout 5B, we know that two-handed weapons are a D16 for initiative. So, does a halfling that is dual wielding two weapons roll a d16 for initiative? They are more cumbersome than one weapon. What do you think, Marzio?
I'm going to say no. I'm sick of you're throwing in your rules into your science into my elf games. I understand what you're saying based on what's written here, but I'm going to go back to the what makes sense rule. I promise you, if I give you a huge hammer that weighs 15 pounds and I'm holding two little knives or two knives, I will be faster than you. Well, maybe not you, Matt, because you look like you can swing a damn hammer over there.
Some guys
But
can
any
swing a
other
hammer
human,
faster than other guys.
Okay, I'll give you that. All right. Looks like you could swing a hammer pretty good, but the rest of the people, I'm pretty sure you'll be faster with two weapons.
All right, so Stephan, let's get your official answer. Does a halfling that is dual wielding two weapons roll a d16 for initiative?
I'm going to say no until someone smarter than you corrects me.
Well, and it just so happens that we have Bob Brinkman on in 2 weeks, and he's
Oh,
going
good. It
to
won't take long then.
he's going to chew one of us out because I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say rules as written by what's stated in the book and the material referenced. A halfling should be rolling a d16 for initiative. Marzio, what's your final answer?
I'm going to stick with it. We might have to duel this out, but I'm saying a dual wielding halfling. Dual wielding is different than two-handed. That's my official argument. And so dual wielding rolls a d20. Two-handed rolls a d16. I think there has to be a distinction between those two terms.
So, what if it's not a halfling? What if somebody has a 16 agility and they're battling two-handed? Would you make them roll a d16?
If they're battling a dual wielding, no, I would
Yeah,
make
like
them
two
roll a
short
d20.
swords,
Yeah, I
d20.
would make them. I would roll the d20. Yes.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That is all our questions for tonight. We've got some big names coming up. Bob Brinkman is going to be on in 2 weeks. Tentatively, we've got Harley Stroh coming on November 8th. November 22nd, tentatively, we still got to check, but Jen Brinkman is going to be on. So we've got 3 heavy hitters that, are pretty familiar with these rules. So we're going to see if we can put them through the paces. Marzio, tell us a little bit about your Kickstarter that's coming up. What's it got in it?
Well, it's got an entire sword and sorcery occupation list that has in it. It has a full patron write-up, including spells. It's got obviously a full adventure in there. It's got like 18 different magical items. Geez, what doesn't it have in there?
Does it have anything for the cleric, a new deity?
Well, no, it has a new patron. No new deity in this one. I had the new deity in the other one in Death Slaves. This one has a patron, Elastria, the carnal goddess. Yeah, man, it's like I explained before. One of the playtesters explained it as Beyond the Black River meets 13th Warrior meets The Usual Suspects. So it's part dungeon delve, part investigative mystery, part just awesome, I think. Anyway, so should be fun, and there's a lot in there.
That sounds like a great place, and it's like a kind of it's its own setting that you've created too. So you've got the adventure, and it probably takes you a couple places, and you've probably got a few kind of blurbs about other spots too. So I see people asking online like, "Oh, I don't know about this campaign world," and most of the time people are just like, "Just play some modules. It's gonna become a campaign world. Just take it one at a time." But you're supplying this. You're meeting the demand.
So basically, what it deals with is 2 specific locations: Fort Hope, which is this frontier outpost on the very very fringes of the civilized world, and then this this aeon veiled ancient forest that's uninhabited by civilization is known as the Shadows. So your adventure takes you in the shadows, hence the name of the title of the adventure, The Shadows About Hope, because it all deals with this forested area around Fort Hope. And of course, because it's sort of sorcery, because it's steeped in Appendix N, it's full of, ancient civilizations, lost races, all the good stuff that you read in the Appendix N stuff.
And it's already completely funded, so it's going to be coming out.
Oh, it's coming out, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be coming out. And so, if you're listening to this and you haven't backed it yet, get over there to the Kickstarter link that should be scrolling through the chat and get over there and back it. And you even got an add-on, Marzio, with some Mars Press shirts. Are these the first time a Mars Press shirt has ever been made?
Yes, absolutely. The first time the Mars Press shirt's ever going to be made. I'm going to take a look too. I might design some different ones, but yeah, you can get some add-ons of some cool Mars Press shirts, and maybe even a shadow about the Shadows About Hope shirt. I might do one of those. It all depends.
What about a Death Slaves for Eternity towel?
Oh yeah, I should have wore a towel. No, the towels are specific. You got to win. You got to win a kumite to get a towel. You got. There's an entire event somewhere in Japan. You got to win. You got to get a magical scroll and get invited and fight in a tournament and beat a guy, and then you get the towel. But there might be some other things in there. But in terms of giveaways, but there's no stretch goals. This is my first Kickstarter. I didn't want to get bogged down in all this stuff. Everything I wrote, I added it in there from the jump. $16. You're gonna have to pay for the printing and shipping, which is another maybe $4. So it's gonna cost you around $20 to print this thing and have it, and then shipping, of course, depends where you live. It's funded through Drive-Through RPG. I didn't even want to get involved with screwing up the shipping, so I did it that way on this first one. And so I don't know if you're interested. If you got a couple extra coins in your coffer from your plunder, and it's a good way to spend some carousing money.
That's awesome. Now, all the guests we usually come on and tell us what they're working on, little hints maybe for upcoming Goodman Games things. You got anything for us? Any tasty tidbits?
Well, you just played in one. I have an adventure. I don't want to steal everything from Mauve Mike because I'm sure I'll be on that show soon, but I'm going to have something coming out in, I believe, one of the yearbooks. It's going to be an adventure, and I'm currently I'm very excited. I'm deep into it. I'm working on an adventure that's very near and dear to Mike Curtis's heart, so I think you can know what setting I'm talking about there. And I'm about, I'm deep into that one. It's due in a month, so I'm all excited about getting that one done.
How much time do they give you to write a module?
They give me 4 days. No, they give me the last two. I've gotten like 4 weeks, which was kind of crazy. Yeah. So Veiled Vaults of the Onyx Queen was 4 weeks. It was 28 days. It was the month of February. But now for this one, I've gotten a lot of time, and it all depends. It's not like they're. Well, maybe is. Maybe Mike Curtis is challenging me. Who knows? But it's all.
Is that 4 weeks like a full draft? We need it play tested and everything, or is it like just give us a full draft? We'll do some play testing after.
Okay. The Veiled Vaults was I got the pitch like January 28th. Sorry, I got the ask January 20. I wrote this down because I couldn't believe I was doing it this fast because I think it turned out great. But I got the hey, you want to write a 10,000 word adventure? I said yes. They said pitch it. I pitched it on February 1st. February 2nd, he said go with it. February 28th, everything was handed in. Art request, adventure, fully checked, gone over. Everything was done in 1 month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk. We got a couple extra minutes here, so let's talk about Star Wound to Abaddon.
Yeah.
You won a contest for that, right?
Correct. So, Gamehole was running. Gamehole and
Rodney's, I think.
Rodney's. I'll tell you a story because this one's funny. This one actually ties in. They were running this competition, and I wrote my pitch and I sent it, and I was so convinced I was going to win. This is honest to God truth. I was so convinced I was going to win that I booked a flight and everything to go to Gamehole, and I lost. It was the year before, and I didn't win. And I was like, what? Because I could be cocky that way, let's be honest. And I'm like, I didn't win. Something else won. And which was fine or whatever. And then the next year they had the
Well,
competition
at
again.
Gamehole, you were like, that piece of crap won? Come on, mine was so
No,
much better
it's
than
never
that.
been published, man. It hasn't been published yet, but I heard it's going to be, and it's probably a great guy, and it deserved to win. Don't get me wrong, but I submitted this thing. I was so convinced that I was going to win, and that's just me, whatever, make it happen. And it didn't happen, so I didn't go to GameCon. I rage quit Gamehole. I wasn't going because I didn't win. And then the next year they had the competition again. I sent in a different contest entry, and it ended up being the Star Wound of Abaddon. Once I was in the door, I said, hey, how did my other adventure not win from the year before, right? I was still bent that I didn't win that one. And I talked to some of the guys, and they said it was really, really close. It just didn't make the cut. It was like out of the last couple. That adventure is the Shadows About Hope now. That adventure that didn't make it was the Shadows About Hope pitch. 2016 or wherever it was.
So
that's what
there
it became.
you go.
I went and wrote it anyway on my own because I felt so strong that I liked it. And truthfully, it's gotten so big, it's almost unpublishable by anybody other than Kickstarter because no one's going to publish a 126-page adventure. So that's why it kind of went to Kickstarter, and I wanted to get it out there because I thought it was fun. I ran at a bunch of conventions, at a trimmed down version of it because you're not going to run that. It's multiple game sessions. People really liked it, so I'm like, I got to get this out into the public. I don't know how because I'm not a good layout guy. And then thank God, Matt Hildebrand, wherever you are, he said he'd do it for me, and saved everything, man. He's the guy. He's the reason why this thing has been sitting on my desk for 4 years. And finally I talked to Matt, and he said, yeah, I'll do it. And he's going to lay it out and make it all pretty.
Very nice.
Well,
I do my own layout, so I know those troubles.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that. I got all kinds of stuff I need you to lay out.
Yeah, might find some time. Hit me up.
Yeah.
We did forget one thing, Stephan. We forgot our polls. If you guys want to get in on the conversation and send some questions in, Elena, if you could please put up a link to our Discord. I just sent over to you a message. But you can join the Dungeon Crawlers Discord. It's a DCC fan Discord server. We have a place for the rules as written if you want to submit questions. We also have a place where you can vote in the polls on the questions that we addressed today. Do bonus spells given by a patron count against the number of maximum? This one was split 50-50. Half said yes, half said no, they don't count. Are elves able to use their enhanced senses at 0 level? 50% said yes, 30% said no, and 20% said I can't stand elves. The next question, how do you play the elven vulnerability to iron in your game? This was kind of overwhelming, a little more painful than it's written in the book, kind of situationally. We talked about a room with iron walls, or if they're inside an iron mine, they're going to get some kind of penalty, like -1 die. And our last question is, would you like to see the elven vulnerability to iron expanded upon? This is for JG and whoever writes the next issue of DCC RPG. Overwhelmingly, 75% said yes. So there you have it. The fans have spoken.
I'll say I got a fun poll in there right now. I've done 3 Kickstarters. I'm planning a 4th, and on my next one, I'm planning on doing one of those iron-on patches that people can get. And there's a couple color variations that I got in there. So go see if you're Team Red or Team Green, and vote, because you're gonna. My wife has a secret vote for her preference, but besides that, you guys are basically deciding what I'm gonna make when that finally comes around.
I voted for Team Red. I like the look of both of them, and the green, kind of reminds me more of Elfland and stuff like that. But the red was just it stood out better. You could see the image, so I voted for Team Red. But Marzio, thank you for being on the show tonight. We thoroughly enjoyed having you on. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I just want to say thank you for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. Like I said, I was all nervous. I felt like I was in detention, and you were going to ask me all kinds of questions, but it went smooth, and it's great.
Yeah. Right. You ended up playing beer pong with the teacher instead of doing an essay.
That's right.
Just like real life.
Stephan, you got anything else?
No, that's it for me.
All right. We'll see you in 2 weeks with Mr. Bob Brinkman. We'll see you later, everybody. Thanks.